after this very energizing session. So I hope we all have a new energy and a new spirit. And I think we start with a little 1-minute video, if you can roll it. Okay, thank you. So what is the connection to my topic, China, and this movie will become apparent in a minute. So I've been asked, and I'm very happy to oblige, to talk about Chinese outbound tourism, not in a general way, but very concrete, to say, how can we bring more upmarket Chinese visitors to this wonderful place of Bodrum, which has been praised correctly and rightly during the whole day. And so in the video, the term meaningful tourism turned up a couple of times, and this is what I will speak a few words about. So how to develop tools for a meaningful tourism strategy to bring more Chinese, especially affluent Chinese tourists to this wonderful place, Bodrum. So very quickly, so I'm the CEO of COTRI, which is a China Outbound Tourism Research Institute, which has a history of 17 years, based in Hamburg, Germany. And so in a nutshell, what we are doing, we are trying with trainings, with consulting, to help destinations all over the world to make Chinese visitors happy and to earn some money in the process. So about myself, I don't want to say much other than maybe the first line. So the first time I've been in China was 1978, quite some time ago. And what I want to ask you to pay attention to is the last line, which is that since a few months, I have the honor to be the founding dean of the HATT Business School Institute, which is run, of course, by the World Tourism Forum Institute, our organizer here today. So, and this is something where we have been deciding that with all the necessary new tourism development, and Taleb, who is now my boss in that, has correctly said, there's no point in going back to the old normal, because if we remember, the old normal was not that good. So we have been talking about over-tourism, we have been talking about the negative impacts on the climate. Tourism has been more and more also accused of. And we had and still have the problem of seasonality, which has been mentioned, which is the elephant in the room. We are not speaking enough about, I think. And we had not very good working conditions for many people working in the tourism industry. So our business school is aiming at looking at new ways of tourism, helping and empowering, especially both preparation for non-Western travelers, and of course the Chinese are a big part of that, but also we have a training program about halal tourism, so Muslim travelers. We have a training program about how to help women working in the tourism industry to get a stronger position and more empowerment. And also on the other hand, so for destinations, non-Western destinations, for them also to get more control over tourism and not just having some all-inclusive resort finance invested by international hotel group landing like a UFO in some place and not bringing much trickle-down effects to the local community. So therefore, I'm wearing two hats. This is why you see two logos, the business school, and I hope that all of you will support this new institution, which today more or less is officially born. But of course, so I will concentrate on what I've been talking about since 40 years, which is China. So the positive part of the story, I'm sure you're all aware. So you can see on the right-hand side, the number of Chinese tourists has been growing from about 10 million in 2000 to 170 million in 2019. The Chinese spent more money on international tourism than the number 2 and the number 3, USA and Germany together. So it is by far the biggest outbound tourism source market. So this has been already the case since 10 years, and for many countries, it's the number 1 international tourism source market. For Turkey, also we had, in numbers, we had a very positive development. So from 250,000 arrivals in 2017, it jumped to 75% to 425,000 arrivals in 2019. So Turkey also had a share out of this 11% of international travelers which are from mainland China. And as we are talking here about affluent visitors, since last year, so during the pandemic, China overtook the United States and is now the country which has the highest number of US dollar millionaires in the world. So the number 1 place, if you look for rich people, is also China. But, and there's a big but. So what we have been seeing is that most destinations have only concentrated on arrival numbers. So this looks nice in the press release, but we could see that the experiences of the visitors have been going down and down, and we had a colleague before saying the same thing, that the concentration on quantity has resulted in less and less quality. So leading to less satisfied visitors, not recommending strongly the place, leading also to less satisfied employees of companies working in tourism, and also of lower yield per customer. So therefore, when we are saying actually the engagement of most destinations with the Chinese outbound tourism market has been a failure. A failure not in terms of numbers of people traveling, but you could clearly see a downward spiral, that you had more people but spending less, and more issues arriving. And so Barcelona and Venice were mentioned already as examples. So, and also from the Chinese, from our research, it was clear that the Chinese felt less and less welcome, less and less taken serious. And also in some places, the Chinese pushed out other traditional markets. Like if you go to Bali now, there are lots of Chinese tourists in Bali, but most of the Australians who went to go there have run away to other places. And why is this? I think, I'm sure most of you have at one time in your life studied the COTRI, the 4P of marketing. You can see here. But when we look what is happening, especially for the Chinese market, but I think also in general, one of the 4Ps, promotion, using social media for marketing and stuff, this has been given the most attention, and the most money was spent on that. Whereas product adaptation for different target markets, as we have heard today several times, different people and different travelers have different needs and expectations and what they want to do. And so this has not been given enough attention, so that you have to develop new products. Just now we heard, hey, why don't we have a music festival here in March and April in the shoulder season? Yes, why indeed? If you don't do it, nobody has a reason to come. And so therefore, the Chinese tour operators, as the products have been more or less the same and has not been specific, they have been concentrating on price. So there was a part of the downward spiral, that there was more pressure on the price. So therefore, what we can see looking at the post-pandemic situation, obviously the appetite for international travel has not changed. Like everybody, also all the surveys show that the Chinese travelers, and especially the younger ones, and especially the more affluent ones, the rich, are eagerly awaiting the time when they can travel again. So there is one survey saying that 20% will travel right away as soon as the borders open, and 70%, so almost all the others, will start after a few months if they see that this is happening. And so it's very likely that by October, for the Golden Week holidays in China, they will open the borders again. So, but what happened in the meantime? The needs and expectations have changed, and this is in line with something we have heard also here before for other travelers: the interest in nature, the interest not to go to big cities but to smaller places, health, and for China, very important, education, bringing your kid so that your kid can learn something. This is the most important thing, and you cannot spend enough money on that. And connecting with the local cultures, again, something we talked about a couple of times here. This is something which is much more important now than it used to be: shopping, shopping, shopping. This has been reduced a lot because now you can do online shopping, and you have also in China, in Hainan is all duty-free shop region. So, and also this quick sightseeing, just taking a photo and running on, this is something which is less and less important. So all this is good news for Bodrum, it's good news for Turkey, and it's good news for many other destinations, for instance in Africa, where you don't have an Eiffel Tower or some other major site. So that the Chinese are no longer looking for the most, the place everybody goes to, but the opposite, that they look for new destinations for something which is new and different, and obviously Turkey is part of it. So the key message, I think, is that the tool to bring Chinese affluent travelers to Bodrum is not spending all your money on social media marketing. It is rather product adaptation to the specific needs and expectations. And for this, of course, you need training, you need empowerment for the tourism industry, so you know what is the special needs and expectations. And you need, I would think, in most countries, it's a good idea to have a private-public partnership so that the official side is supporting the private industry in this process of understanding the Chinese market and creating new products or adapting existing products in that way. So for Bodrum, clearly, obviously, you have wonderful 5-star resorts here, you have lovely beaches, but between China and Bodrum, there are many places where you also have 5-star resorts and also have lovely beaches, which are much easier to reach. So this will not be the reason for people to come here. Because one of the key points to keep in mind for Chinese traveling to Europe or to Turkey or to Africa, so flying 10 hours, 12 hours in an airplane, they don't come here for recreation. They don't come here to spend their days on the poolside. They can do this in China, or they can do this in Bali, or in Vietnam, or in South Korea, or in Malaysia, or in Thailand, all much closer, all much easier, much more people speaking Chinese there, better Chinese food there. So this is not the point. They come here for the experience, for doing something different. So that's why, so they're not lazing around. They want to do many things. They want to have a full program of action. And not only general action, but one of the big things for tourism and for affluent people especially so is bragging power. So that you can tell your friends back home in China, look at this photo, I did something you did not. I have been to a place you have not been. I was welcomed, not only, I visited the Underwater Archaeology Museum in the wonderful castle, but we went there when it was officially closed, and the chief curator personally showed us around. Well, we had to pay $300 more for that, but who cares? But so this is something, wow. So getting things which are not easy to get. And of course, there's a lot, we heard this and we can see this, there's a lot to brag about Bodrum. So This is the home of one of the 7 wonders of the world, of the mausoleum. And of course, for Chinese people, not only for Americans, this will be a new destination, someplace not so many people have heard of. So if you ask Chinese tourists, and we have done this survey for the Turkish Tourism Ministry some years ago, what's your image which comes to your mind when you hear Turkey? The image is hot air balloon in Cappadocia. This is the one image which is clearly coming up. And Chinese have a positive image of Turkey. Chinese are very interested in power, in empires. So they know more about the Ottoman Empire than maybe most Germans do. And they're interested in that. And of course, I'm sure Bodrum is the #1 in Turkey for many different things. So help people that they can tell their friends why it is so special. It's not only a question of bragging, it's also a question of unique experiences. So you have all these great yachts here, or going sailing. So almost nobody in China knows how to sail. This is not until now in the culture in China, and people don't have time, because most of the rich people in China are still working for their money. This is first generation. You could not be rich 25 years ago, maybe 30 years ago, you would go to prison for that. So therefore, this is not like maybe in America or in Europe, people who have inherited the wealth from their parents or even their grandparents. These people have little time, so they want to do a lot of things. And for instance, for sailing, they don't want to go a whole day on a sailing boat. They want to go half a day. And if you can bring them somebody who shows them how to do sailing, which is a former Olympic medal winner or a national Turkish champion in some sailing class, I'm sure you have a lot of these people here. So then that will be, again, something you can show your friends. It's not only, hey, I've been on a sailing boat, but also, hey, and the guy who showed us how to do this, he won 5 times national championships. Wow. So, and of course, as has been mentioned, also fine dining. So you can see that the Chinese outbound tourists, already before the pandemic, there was a movement that the spending went from shopping for Louis Vuitton bags to spending money on fine dining. So being a foodie, being an expert in wine, in food, this is, especially for the younger people, this is a sign of distinction, of being a global citizen. So, of course, you still have mass market, package tourists, people not from the big cities, who may be the first time out of China. They might still say, I want to eat Chinese food. But for the people we are talking about here, clearly, if they go to Turkey, they want to eat Turkish food. And also, Turkish food is not that far away, in many cases, from Chinese food. You do have rice. And here, especially, you have fish. So there are many different Chinese cuisines, but practically all Chinese people love fresh fish. And especially like in China, if you go into a restaurant to eat fish, the fish will always be live. So there will be a tank, and you are pointing and say, this one. And then this one is taken out and unfortunately ends his life, and 20 minutes later will be on your plate. So you have this here, and this is exactly what Chinese people are looking for. So all the seafood stuff will be wonderful. And the last point, I think, getting more and more important, authentic encounters. And so don't forget, these people all live in cities which have 50 million inhabitants, 20 million inhabitants, 25 million inhabitants. They live far away from nature. So if you go to Shanghai, there are no birds, there are no lizards, there's nothing. So the experience of nature, and also the experience of village life, so of life which is somehow traditional. This is something which for many is maybe normal, but for Chinese people, especially for the younger ones and for the kids especially, this is very, very special. So you can be sure that a normal 10-year-old kid growing up in Shanghai has never in his or her life seen a live cow or a live goat or a live sheep, only on the plate or in the supermarket. So most Chinese kids think eggs are made in the supermarket or in the factory, that eggs come out of chicken. This is something, wow, for Chinese kids. So, and this is something, and also, well, we just said, what about contemporary art? Yes, of course. So it's people, as Taleb has been saying, and as is absolutely true, it is more and more important that you want to meet people. And this can be experts, so the head of the museum or some other people you can talk to that might be investment advisors. I'm sure a lot of Chinese would be very interested to come here to invest in hotel properties or in other stuff. But it can also be, of course, artists. So you have in China a lot of people who have startup companies and are young entrepreneurs, and they're happy to meet entrepreneurs here. So this is a point where you have to understand what they want. Well, I don't have time to go into detail, but clearly things have to be short and intensive and not really leisure in the sense of recreation orientated, but action, learning something, experiencing something, having something to talk about. And this comes to meaningful tourism. So this is a concept we have developed in connection also with the HATT Business School Institute. So we had sustainable tourism as a concept. This has been, in the last years, superseded by responsible tourism. And so we think in the period after the pandemic, hopefully it is soon over, we have to move to meaningful tourism. Because you have actually less and less people working in coal mines, less and less people who have to go on holidays to rest their limbs, their body. So most people, especially the people having money for long distance travel, they sit in front of a computer or they sit in meetings. So they don't need to rest their body. They have to do something for their brain when they go on holidays. So they want to have experiences, meeting people, having some new input, some new into your experience. And also don't forget, the average age of travelers is growing. We have more and more people from my generation, so people who might be less interested in beach volleyball and drunken parties and more interested in culture and history and meeting interesting people. So meaningful tourism is a concept for the tourists to gain more experiences, also for the host communities to get something out of the tourist, not only money, but also that you can meet interesting people coming here to visit. So that's the idea of hospitality, right? The idea is to meet strangers and have a talk to them and have a good time together. They learn something from you, you learn something from them. If you have a hotel with 1,000 beds, as we heard earlier, that doesn't work. If you have a hotel with 80 beds, maybe that is possible. So for the staff to provide 12 months a year jobs, not only seasonal jobs. And for the government, of course, to have jobs and also have more tax income because people spend more. And if you have people coming here who feel part of the community, part of the place, they will be more careful with the environment. So if you're a Chinese going somewhere and you think, oh, I'm here one day in my life, I will never come back, why should I be careful? I can break a coral and take it home or all this stuff. So once you feel, okay, wow, this is family, you will be more careful. So therefore also for the environment, there will be something to gain. So we have developed a program which is called Adventures Tourism. This is in the middle, this little logo you can see, where we help destinations to move down this way, to have a better start or restart with the Chinese market. So we have been, until now, we have been working for Spain and for Albania, for instance, and for some other countries. So concentrating on quality and satisfaction, and that's an important point. If you have satisfied customers, especially Chinese, they will tell their friends about this. So you will have them recommending your place. And Chinese people have a lot of experience with propaganda. They don't believe anything from official sources. So any beautiful video, they don't believe that because they know this is advertisement. Of course you say your place is wonderful. What else should you say? So they only believe what other Chinese people are telling them. And so you have travel portals where you have millions of users every day and where they discuss, do the people in Turkey throw stones at us because they say, you Wuhan guys, you made the virus, or is it safe to come here? So they hear the stories from America. Is Turkey a place where the Chinese people have to fear for their life? Or fortunately, it's not the case. So this information you don't get from government sources. Government sources say everything is wonderful, of course. So you ask other Chinese people, what's their experience? And you believe that. So if you have a positive impact, then they will recommend you, and this for free. And this will be much more having an impact than all kind of social media marketing you can do. And we did some research, the input, how much money and how much outcome, it is not very good, to be sure. So to end up, so you don't have to take my word for this, 3 quotes, obviously. Taleb first, saying there's no return to the old normal, but forward to a new and better normal. And Mario Hardy, who was until last month the CEO of HATT, has also been saying we need to move from KPIs, key performance indexes, of quantitative results to qualitative results. So the new standard for determining tourism potential and performance is metric tracks which will depend on length of stay and visitors' satisfaction. And last week, Peter Hedorfer, who has been for many years the CEO of German National Tourism Board, wrote in a mail to me, yes, indeed, Wolfgang, tailor-made offers, specific targeting, and reshaped offers for the new mindset, including community management, are essential. So with this, my time is up. Let me end. So thank you very much for your interest in the #1 global tourism market, and WTFI, HATT, BSI, and COTRI are, of course, ready to help you to establish a sustainable, profitable, and meaningful relation with the Chinese affluent outbound travelers to Bodrum and beyond. And let me try this, teşekkür ederim.